Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of No Title Needed here at the beautiful Feinstein's Cabaret at the Hotel Carmichael in Carmel, Indiana. I am Cynthia Collins.
And I'm Scott Osborne.
We are your co-hosts.
We are.
Every week.
It's consistent.
We are, if nothing else, we're consistent. And this week, our guest is Matt Snyder. Matt.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
And Matt is councilman at large for the City of Carmel Council, correct?
That is correct.
And you're brand new to the council.
I'm new to the city council.
Yes. Tell us about that journey, real quick. Like, why? This is what I always say. You're on the city council. Why? I mean, why be a civil servant?
I was very blessed with wonderful teachers throughout my entire educational career at Carmel schools. But one teacher in particular, Jim Garrettson, was the social studies department head at Carmel High School, and he took me under his wing on a number of things and introduced me to some other people. And one day, in my mid-20s, I got a phone call from a mutual friend of ours, Fred Swift, who happened to be, I consider him the founder of the city of Carmel. He was on the last town board and then did the transition to city 50 years ago now, and was on the first city council. Calls me one night and says, "Hey, you're running for the township board." And I said, "I am. Don't I need to have a say in this? I don't even know what the township board is." He goes, "No, I made that decision. Also, you're speaking this evening at the caucus." I said, "Okay." So for many years, I was on the township board, and I felt like we had done a lot of great things for Clay Township. I felt like I had done as much as I could do and was ready to take on another challenge. So made a shift from Clay Township Board over to City Council.
Right.
But that was just the same day. It's like you're speaking to me.
Right.
The heart starts.
And you're in your 20s.
Right. Had no idea even what the position was.
Right, and what you were going to talk about.
Correct. And I don't remember what I said.
Of course you don't, because you were probably like, probably felt like you were floating.
Yes.
Above your body, right?
It was transcendental.
But you were,
It worked.
gosh. Well, obviously it worked.
Yeah.
Because you got voted, you did that, and then you got voted, obviously, onto the city council. But you went to Carmel High School, as you said. You went through the Carmel school system.
I did.
Which is a very good school system, I think.
love it.
I think it's very good.
I think it's one of the best in the country.
I think so, too.
Statistically.
Yeah, and well, while you were at the high school, though, you kind of were involved with the theater, were you not?
I was.
Yeah.
I was. It was fun. I was one of the few people that was both the athlete, the jock, and in the theater. And the story of how I got into the theater, I love sharing, if you don't mind.
Yeah. No, please.
I think it was my sophomore year. I was walking out of the building one day, and I was leaving a different way, out at the southeast door by the theater. Mm-hmm. And there was a shop, and I noticed something, a shelf, and it was like kind of cockeyed. And I just stopped and looked at it and looked around, and there were all these tools. I'd never been in this room in my life. And I fixed this shelf. And a gentleman named Paul Bernard Killian walks over and goes,
Killian.
says, "Who are you?" I said, "Oh, sorry. My name's Matt Snyder." And he goes, "Well, do you enjoy doing this kind of stuff?" And I said, "Absolutely. I love working with my hands." He goes, "Would you like to do it more often?" And I said, "Well, sure." And I said, "For what?" And he goes, "Well, the theater." And I said, "Theater? I don't know anything about that." And he goes, "Well, we'll teach you." And that was really the start of my journey and what introduced me into the theater.
So you were doing crew, you were building sets, you were running crew, you were, obviously Bernie, I know, was designing.
Yep.
And at that time he was probably in charge of all the kids.
Yes.
As well, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you think that was kind of a turning point in your life?
Absolutely was. Absolutely was. My interest in things and people shifted over the course of that following year. And I ended up becoming an ambassador and started performing.
Oh, well, good for you.
But my worldview changed, and it went from what I thought was my role in high school, which was the jock, mediocre grades, but really didn't know what to apply myself at, to hanging out with one group of people. Something flipped, and I really became met all these other fascinating, wonderful people in the arts, and then the various branches from there. And I'd sent an email to somebody, maybe a year ago, that kind of really summed it up. And I said, in math class, you can learn all these facts about people, but you're never going to have a life-changing moment in high school math. Whereas in high school theater or drama or performing arts, there are those abilities through, whether it's music, the craft, voice, reading a specific play, whatever it is, that will change your life forever.
Truly.
Power of the arts.
Yes,
Yep.
absolutely.
I stand by it. I stand by it. And I know Bernie was a great influence on you. We've had conversations. In fact, I think it was the first time I ever met you.
I think so.
Something like, it was like the Taste of Carmel or something. And,
Yeah.
And the ATI, Actors Theater of Indiana, had a table, and you approached, and that's when I was with the company and at those things. And you were like, do you know Bernie Killen? And Bernie was a set designer for ATI. And just going back, for people who don't know, the Ambassadors is the show choir, the top mixed show choir at the high school. So that's a pretty big deal. You were in that group.
It was,
You got the voice.
well,
Right?
well, you haven't heard me sing.
No,
But-
you obviously move well to be in a show choir. You have to.
Used to.
And
yeah.
and you obviously have to have. You probably, of course, you have to sing, because they don't mess around there at that high school.
No.
With the show choirs, they
No,
do not mess around.
Or anything.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, across the
in
board,
general,
for that matter. So about the let's get back to what you're doing right now.
Okay.
You are a councilman at large on the city council, and were you also told that you were going to run for city council?
No, that was a personal choice. I was encouraged, but
Yeah.
I was a personal choice. I mean, that was a choice I made, and one that, after now 42 years in Carmel, I just want to continue. I mean, I'm not bashful. If you've heard me speak, we live in the greatest community in the world, and I want to continue to serve it and keep it that way.
Yeah, yeah. As civil servant, I'm saying it's rare when an actual person isn't real true civil servant, because you get wrapped up in politics, and
Yeah.
politics can be nasty, and it's very hard, and so
Personal agendas.
personal agendas, absolutely.
But
So
that's-
kudos to you.
yeah.
Thank you.
For
great.
being a real civil servant. I think most of the people on the council are.
I think so.
What I've met.
I think so.
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
I would say, and I've heard this, there are 4 remaining members of Carmel's first city council: Jane Ryman, Jim Gerritsen, Fred Swift, and Dave Coots. And I have heard them all say that they think this is the best city council as a whole that Carmel's
Good.
Great.
Carmel's had.
Well, that's good to know. I mean, it's good.
Strong dynamic.
I live in Carmel,
Yeah.
so I'm happy about that.
Yeah,
Well,
me too.
Right?
Yeah, both
Right?
those, yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Matt Snyder, our lovely guest. Hey everyone, we are back with our guest Matt Snyder. Matt, thank you again for joining us. He is a city councilman at large for the City of Carmel Council, the
Absolutely.
City Council. And we were, before we took our little break, we were talking about civil servants and true civil servants, and how politics can be kind of nasty sometimes. And, it gets a little nitty gritty. Actually, anywhere, I think. I don't just mean on the federal level. It can be that way in the local level, too.
Can be that way on the playground.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Don't get out of my sandbox.
Yeah.
So, or play nice in the sandbox.
Right.
Yes. Anyway, I don't know. What do you think about that? How do you approach that?
I personally, I don't have time for all the nonsense. It is very one of the things that makes Carmel wonderful is we have a sense of purpose, a sense of identity. I believe people move or stay in Carmel because it's the greatest community in the world, and it's got these things, intangible things about it that you can only whisper, or they disappear. And so when I start hearing about all the chatter on the state, federal, global level, it means nothing. And I serve with 7 other Republicans and a Democrat, and I believe every one of us have the same vision for Carmel, as well as just the ability to put all that other stuff that doesn't matter in a municipal government aside and focus on what the constituency and the people who are Carmel have to say. And that every decision I make is, or think about, or is, how does this help the people of Carmel? And then if it's somewhat neutral, is there any way this could be a disservice to the people of Carmel? Period. End discussion. There's no all the issues that we have no control over. I think don't belong, and I think that the intelligence of the people of Carmel, and if you look over the last several voting years, it's changing. I mean, and I don't know if it's changing. I think it's just going back and forth. I think the people in Carmel, Indiana, are smart enough to vote for the people that are actually going to serve them.
Yes, I hope so. I mean,
regardless of party politics.
That's how I vote. That's how I've always voted. Who's going to be the best for what the needs are? And I think that's very important. Yeah, and you are on that council with some really great. I mean, Jeff Worrell almost says the same thing you do. You have Dr. Anita Joshi.
She's wonderful.
Who's absolutely spectacular.
Yes.
As a doctor, of course, pediatrician, and as a city council member, she's new too.
She is new, and she is. We serve together on not only on the council but on land use committee, and her along with team mom Shannon Minar and
yes,
and one of my oldest and dearest friends Teresa Ayers. Dr. Joshi is just wonderful to run ideas by, and she always comes at things from a very unique perspective, and I always appreciate it. And my favorite thing about Dr. Joshi is, even on things that we both know we disagree on,
yeah.
we truly enjoy hearing each other's counterpoints because we can learn from each other. And I think
that's
that
old
is
school.
critical.
Mutual
That's old.
respect
That's
at that
and
point.
that's old
Yeah.
school.
And then Jeff, I mean, goodness, he brings such a tremendous amount of institutional knowledge and life experience, along with just being a good guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
He's a great guy at the party in general.
Yeah.
That is indispensable. We just couldn't.
Yeah.
Especially with such a young, newer council, it's great to have some of that.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear it. You know, it's good. That makes me feel good as a resident of Carmel.
We're in
Scott,
good hands.
we are,
Yeah.
aren't we?
I truly believe it.
Good hands, like Allstate
Oh dear.
used to be. Remember that?
Yeah.
What? Ask him. Let's do the questions.
Questions of the week.
Questions of the week. This
All
is a little
right.
different now.
All right.
Yeah.
We're trying something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I was wondering if you could choose a different profession, any other random profession, what would it be?
I don't know how random it is, but I think I would either be doing lighting design for shows or set construction design of some sort. And maybe not so much the design, because they're far superior people and they have better design capabilities, but I love working with my hands. I love building things. I think that is what I would do if I wasn't doing civil engineering consulting.
Well, I got to get you over to the shop then, because there's I might be able to open a few doors for that. Here's another fun one. What is your least favorite sound? Little random.
Yeah. It's hard.
Probably the sound of my own phone, because it
Good
never...
answer.
It's a toss-up whether I'm going to enjoy the call or not, and it goes off so often now. I just every time I think the day's over, it continues. That is probably my least favorite sound. But I try to always answer, because you never know what it's going to be. Somebody could need help, or it could be a rewarding phone call, or it's just something you have to deal with.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't have that moment. So last, here's kind of a funny one. Who would you like to see on a banknote?
Oh Lord.
That's the toughest one.
Yeah.
I think.
I am very partial to keep, or maybe traditional, in keeping it as presidents, which is where we've gotten. It hasn't always been that way, but
Yeah.
if we were
Franklin,
to, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it would have to be somebody either very poignant.
And just remember, they're on the coins too. So you have a lot of them
Oh,
on
yeah.
the coins too. You know,
Yeah.
Roosevelt's on the dime.
Some of them are, well,
You
a
know,
lot-
so it's
most
not
of
just the
those are
paper.
reused.
You got the coins too.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
I,
you know what I mean?
If I had to
So-
pick, I'm gonna derail the question just a little
Go
bit.
ahead.
There's one picture that I absolutely love. It's a photo I saw years ago, and it was Bill Clinton at in an airport in Texas,
Yeah.
and he's standing between two statues of the Bushes, and the little caption was, or his caption was, hiding in the bushes. You know, that might be a fun way, a fun picture
That's a-
to be a little light, bring two parties together,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and just, and maybe there'd be less controversy that way. I don't know. Otherwise, SpongeBob. I mean, somebody that's
right.
not going to be controversial, and we're going to have a.
Yeah. I don't know. You know, I know we're not answering, but actually, I was thinking Jimmy Carter, because he was more of a humanitarian.
He was.
Even if people didn't agree what he did in his presidency at one term, and I think he made a better. I think he did much more outside the presidency. That's what he was meant for, in my opinion, than what he did. Every president does something good, but I think he really found his stride after his presidency in helping the world as a humanitarian.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the only person I can think of right out off the top of my
I'm
head.
going to answer with Ryan Reynolds.
Okay.
We weren't even supposed to
An
answer.
American classic.
The question
He's
wasn't even for
a
us.
national treasure.
Ryan Reynolds, as in, like,
The actor.
From-
Just a joke.
from Canada.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that
Why?
I
On
did
US
not
currency.
think that one through.
Let's put a come on.
Still a treasure.
Let's start putting Canucks on the American currency. All right. So we weren't even supposed to answer that question, but we can't
No.
keep our mouths shut, obviously. Matt, thank you
I
again
love it.
for being here.
Thank you.
And
This is wonderful.
Thank you for serving Carmel
Cheers. Thank
and
you.
your dedication to that. And thank you for taking the art side of your brain and using that.
We like that side.
We like that side a lot. But anyway, thanks. And thank you, everyone,
Appreciate
for
you being
joining
on.
us again for No Title Needed here at the beautiful Feinstein's Cabaret. Come on over. See a cabaret, see a show. They have a wide variety of entertainment going on in this space now. So, Cynthia Collins,
Scott Osborne.
and we will see you next time on No Title